you might have noticed I've got a chopping board in front of me. Gonna do some cooking. All right. So, I actually used to be a chef, well, an overglorified cook. I used to do it professionally anyway. That was a few years ago. But one of the things that I noticed over the years is that there are some vegetables that just aren't that good. They just taste a bit by themselves at least. One of them in particular is a bit of a superfood and it gets talked up all over the place. But unless you have it the right way, it's just a bit junk. So I have managed to cook it in a way that I think is pretty good. And I'm going to share that with you today. Because it's something that should be eaten. It is actually pretty good. It's just a bit ordinary by itself. It's got a bit of a different flavour. Anyway. Kale. Superfood. Got a cape and all that type of stuff. Kale is really healthy for you. It's really, really good. You should eat it as much as you can. Probably not every day, but eat it a lot. As I said, by itself, not too flash. However, if you deep fry the leaves, pretty good. It turns into a bit of a bar snack. When you do though, you want to pick it off so that you just get the top bits like that. This is only if you're deep frying it. Obviously you want to use the rest of it if you can. But these little top bits really crisp up if you deep fry it. Make sure you get the oil temperature and all that sort of thing right, of course, otherwise you get burned. You just go burn. So anyway, little tip bits. You don't need to deep fry it for long, so don't walk away. You've got to watch it and then just test, because if you don't get the oil temperature just right, you know, it either takes a little bit. You also don't want it to get oil logged, so you make sure you get some paper towel and that sort of thing so that you can really pat it dry, but not too much because you just crush it. It actually works quite well if you do it that way, to use the crushed bits as a bit of a garnish as well. You can sprinkle it over other things that you cook. You can bit of mashed potato, sprinkle, good stuff. All right, kale. Kale is the base, I guess, of what I'm going to do today. It's pretty simple. It's basically just a stir fry, but it's just the way to make kale good is to spice it up. And I don't mean like hot, spicy. I mean get some flavour into it. So well, for me, Asian flavours is the way to go. I mean, you could go a different way. You could. I don't know how it would go with South American flavours. If you try, let me know. I'm not big on South, other than, you know, tacos and that sort of thing, which is just awesome. I'm not big on using them in my own style of cooking, but that's just me. That's just me. All right, kale, number one ingredient. Other one we're going for is shrooms. Just simple button mushrooms. You can use any type of shroom if you like. I actually get a really good effect if you use a variety. If you can get some oyster mushrooms, really good. If you can get some, the name is completely escaping me, but those long stringy ones that you get in Japanese and Chinese cooking. It'll come to me eventually, and I'll spurt it out for no apparent reason. I'll be talking about something else. Anyway, mushrooms, get them. Button mushrooms are fine, but if you can get other different varieties, chuck them in. Strong flavours are fine. You know, shiitake's good too. All that type of stuff. They're a bit chewy though, so you got to be careful there. Mushrooms. The next thing I'm using, standard onion. Didn't get one to show. That was a bit silly. An onion, but I'll cut it up in a second, so you'll see it there. The other one, bit of spinach. I know we've already got green happening with the kale, but this isn't going to be a visual extravaganza. This is just all about flavour. Spinach just happens to work really well with it. So, bit of spinach. This one is just standard baby leaf, so wouldn't go for the full bore spinach. Baby leaf works really well. Okay, so that's kind of the core that we're going to be using, those 4 veggies. There's no meat or protein or anything like that. I'm a bit of a veggie, so I don't really go down that far, except for fish. I eat it. A lot of fish. Almost dropped it, anyway. Alright, flavourings. Firstly, can't go past soy sauce. You've got to add that. Light soy, don't put the dark in, it takes over way too much. Light soy is the way to go. And just, you don't have to go overboard. I like to sort of sprinkle it, go to taste. There's no measurements with this sort of thing. I don't like measurements. I like cooking as I go. Recipes are not my bag. Next up, this one. this is gonna make it. This is a mushroom-based, sort of basically mixer sauce. It's actually meant to be a dipping sauce or something to stir through noodles and that sort of thing, but I think it's really good in stir fries. This particular one is Fragrant Garlic. You can get Szechuan, and there's 5 spice, and there's a really heavy chili one as well. This one's got a little bit of bite to it, got a little bit of chili, but the good part is the garlic. I completely ran out of garlic today, so this is going to substitute for that as well. But you can be relatively heavy with this, but again, if you go too far, it's going to take over so much, because it is pretty strong. But if you can get it, get it. Definitely available, obviously, in Australia, in Asia as well. And I'm not sure, I would assume it would be available in the US and Europe and then other places, but this is really good stuff. Oils. I'm going to use 2 different oils. My base normal oil is this one here. Boom. It's really good. Rice bran oil. This rice bran oil. I use this all the time in my cooking. It's got a little bit of a nuttiness about it, but it's not sesame or peanut. It's just in the background there. It just makes it a little bit mellow. It's got a high flash point, so you can cook it fairly hot. Not that we're going to have to worry here, but it's good for deep frying. Very healthy, really good. It's not like the top. It's not like, I think, like rapeseed oil or something like that. It's really good, but this one is up there. It's healthier than a lot of the oils that you can use. And I just love it. I just think it's great. I started using it probably about 2 years ago and have not looked back. The other oil I'm going to use, which I don't have here again, is sesame oil, and that's just as a bit of a flavouring. Again, don't use a whole heap because it does take over, but it's good to get that just a little bit extra nuttiness in there. So anyway, that's it. Other than the pepper, I love pepper. Gotta put some pepper in. And probably just a little bit of salt, but not too much because we're using soy and this is also relatively salty. So be careful with that. Don't want to over salt things. So stay with us. Gonna chop some stuff up now and cook. Let's make it happen. Kale. Prep time. Let's make it happen. Firstly, knife. As I said, I'm a little bit chefy and I love my knives. I don't know anybody who is a cook, chef, whatever you want to call it, who doesn't love super sharp knives, and Japanese steel, the way to go. I do have a few knives and I'll probably do a show on that at some point, but this is my main knife, the one I use I use it every day. It's just it's a really good chef's knife. It's Tamahagane, that's the brand. It was super sharp. I've had this for about 3 years, haven't sharpened it once, and it is still pretty damn good. It's not razor like it used to be, but it's pretty sharp. Right, so first off, onion, went and got one. Kudos to me. I don't like cutting through the skin, it's just personal preference. I know you see lots of chefs just go to town on it, don't like it. I'm not going to cut everything up because it's boring, but I will show you this quickly. Off. Don't like, as I said, the skin, so we're just going to make a small cut. Some people cut it in half. This is just the way I like to do it. Then going to take off layer, not too much, just the very front one if you can. Oh, this is a bit of a dirty one. That's alright. Come on, here we go. That's the style. That's what I wanted. There we go. That's better. Nice and clean. Beautiful. Alright, let's get rid of that rubbish. Put it over here. Behind us. Put it behind us. Alright, get rid of these two. I like a clean work area, very clean. All right, chop in half. Now, as I said, we're not really too fussed about the onions. They're not really the major player here. I know that you can dice them up and all that type of stuff, but I like to do them the way that you kind of find them in a lot of Chinese restaurants, things like that, which is just basically cutting along the grain in. Just boom. Careful of fingers, of course. Now I know that you should butt your fingers in, but I'm a bit of a bad boy. I like to live by the seat of my pants. You know, fly by the seat of my pants. Wrong saying there. So cut in different ways depending on what you're cooking, but for this one, This cut works really well. Onions, done. And they'll break apart when you're cooking them. Don't have to break them apart or anything like that. Mushrooms, I'll just do one. As I said, I don't like the stalks. Just me. I like them for some dishes, not this one. This one, I'm just gonna do quarters. Really simple. That's it. Easy. Spinach, not gonna do anything to that. It's already leaf version, we're just gonna chuck it in. Kale, as I said, if you're gonna deep fry it, just get the bits, but we're not gonna deep fry it today. We're going to normal fry it. So personally, I don't really like the stems. Again, I don't like the texture. So just pull off a bit like that. And you don't really have to do too much of this because it actually breaks up pretty well. I'd prefer not to use a knife. I like to just shred. Easy. Takes a little bit of time when you go through a whole bunch, but you know, it's not too bad. Probably a little bit more than that. And that's it. Done. Prep. Finished. What was that, like 2 minutes? Something like that. Obviously I'm going to cut up a bit more. Onions done. We're going to cut up. I'm thinking probably do about 10 mushrooms or something like that. They're not overly big ones, so that'll work. Kale, we'll use this whole thing. It breaks down a lot, so don't expect this is not going to make a lot of food. Same with spinach. I mean, if you get a massive bag of spinach, you're going to end up with like that much spinach. It just shrinks. That's it. Let's get to cooking. Cooking time. Firstly, pan. Make sure it is nice and hot. Nice and hot. All right. Now we add rice bran oil. Be relatively liberal. And we'll add a little bit of sesame oil. Just in the center of the pan. Not too much. And move it around a bit. And it shouldn't take too long. I've had the pan on for a minute or two just to make sure it's nice and warm. Now, you just turn it down because you don't want to deep fry everything. First thing to put in is onions. We need to cook them down a little bit. Nice sizzle. Onions are of course one of those wonderful things that smell probably better than they taste, but they still taste pretty good. Alright, I like to use wood spoon or ladle or whatever it is when I'm cooking. Just personal preference. It's more of a tactile sort of thing. I like the feel of the wood. That sounds very suggestive. Alright, it shouldn't take too long before we can start putting everything in. This is a pretty quick process, especially if the oil is nice and hot like it is at the moment. Alright, now we want to put in some of that flavour. So this is the XO Mushroom Sauce Fragrant Garlic. Let's put that right in the middle. As I said, free-handed a little bit, but that should do. Not bad. Get that all around. Heat it through a little bit. You can probably see a couple little chili bits getting through there. Very nice stuff. And the smell's already just wafting through. Wafting. Onions are changing colour, going a little bit brown. It's probably a little bit high. We'll just turn that down just a bit if you don't want to deep fry them. Alright, next up, let's put in our star, I guess, kale. Make sure you wash it first. Actually caught up a little itty bitty spider in there beforehand, and I had the kale in the fridge for a couple of days, so interesting. Alright, now that looks like a lot of kale, but it'll shrink down fairly well. Stir. Let's get a bit chefy. Good. You can see the nice deeper green happening after it's started to cook just a little bit. Getting a bit of moisture into it as well. If you do try deep frying kale, as I said with these little bits here, the little flower bits I guess you could call them on the edge of the leaf, make sure after you wash them you dry them thoroughly because hot oil and water do not like each other and they spit. So you get covered in hot oil if you're not careful. Not fun, not fun. Had my fair share of scalding hot oil on me over the years. Not something I recommend. Alright, next up, let's chuck in the mushrooms. So I've got about, well, I don't have about, I've got exactly 10 that I've cut into quarters. It's looking pretty good already. Unfortunately, these mushrooms are not going to hold their pristine whiteness. They are going to turn brown. Pretty brown. Alright, you can probably see at the moment that the kale has already shrunk from its original puffiness down. And it will shrink even further as we get a bit more heat into it. It's good. Alright, at this point I think we're going to add a bit of soy. So using the Pearl River Bridge brand of Superior Light. I don't know if there's just normal light, but Superior seems to be the way to go. Superior Light Soy for all your cooking needs. That was my radio voice. Alright, I'm chucking it in. Just got my finger over the top so that I can control how much is going in, because we don't want to overpower it. Just sprinkle, sprinkle. There we go, that'll do for now. Let's see how we go. Add it in. You can see, unfortunately, those mushrooms have changed colour. You also notice I haven't put the spinach in yet, because the spinach wilts a lot faster than the kale does. A lot faster. So, you can mix this up as well. Oyster sauce works really well. You can also, if you want a bit of a sauce with it, I personally like it just for like this, but if you do want a bit of a sauce, you can put in a mix of rice flour or corn flour and water, just a bit, and that should make you a. You don't want it too thick. You want sort of a loose sauce with it, if you do have it as a sauce. All right, I think it's about time for us to put in spinach.
Yeah, let's go.
Spinach. Very green, very green. Makes you sort of feel healthy having this much green. You can safely go out and eat just a chunky hamburger after this and still feel pretty healthy. Not that I would, I'd stay away from the hamburgers. Although I don't mind that Rebel burger at the moment that Hungry Jack's or Burger King has. I assume Burger King has it in the States, but they have it here in Australia anyway. It's not bad. It's not bad. It doesn't, like the patty itself is better than I expected. But we're not here to talk about the burger. We're here to talk about the kale. The kale. We're almost done here. You can see the onions through. They picked up a lot of nice flavour. You can see sort of an almost a halo, an aura around it. We're pretty much done. Let me just try a little bit here. Got a taste test, as any decent chef would know. Well, it's pretty good. Not bad. It's still a little bit paley for me. Let's add a little bit more of that. A little bit more sesame oil just to mix it around. A little bit of soy on top, just for good measure. For me, if you follow a recipe, I mean, yes, you'll get it right a lot of the time, but if you do get it wrong, you need to taste it as you go. You need to feel what you need to add. And that's why one of the reasons I don't like using recipes. The other is because I just have ADD and need to create my own stuff. I think creating your own stuff on the fly is way more fun. A lot of people sort of ask after they eat my food, like, oh, what's the recipe for that? I'm like, I just can't give you one. I can cook it for you again, but it won't taste the same the next time I do it either. Just like this one. This one tastes different than the last time I did it. Okay, that kale is getting to the point where it's over. Done. Oh, I was going to take it off the heat, but I just realised that that would get me off plan, so I'll take it half off the heat. Not bad, not bad. Looking pretty good. Alright, let's grab ourselves a plate. Nice big white one, I think. That'll help us look at it a little bit better. I won't put it all on, but we'll just put kale in the middle. Very nice, very nice. Let's not be too pedantic about presentation. It's about eating, really. Mushrooms in there. Come on, come on. Actually, one thing I did forget, I was going to put a couple of cashews in. I like putting in a nut if I can, just to give it a bit of texture, a bit of something different. That's not too bad. Tofu works really well in this as well. Just for myself, if you do use tofu, make sure you boil it first, cut and boil it first. What do you think? Not too bad. Should we clean it up a little bit? That's probably a good idea. Just grab a tea towel. Let's just push that sucker in there. That's nice. Very pretty. Very pretty. All right, let's have a taste. Okay, cooking all done. Taste test. Kale, mushroom, onion, and a bit of spinach. Let's go. Pretty good. Pretty good. It's got just a little hint of chili that was in that mushroom stir fry. The onions are nice and soft. The kale is, well, it's a little over, but that's fine for kale for me. I prefer it like that. As I said, I'm not a massive fan when it holds all of its flavour. It does have a natural saltiness though, which is why I was a little bit hesitant to go completely nuts with the soy sauce. But good stuff. Cook it like this, really good, really good. I try to have something like this about once a week just to get the kale into you. Really, really healthy stuff, especially if you're a bit of a veggie like myself. It's a good one to get into, especially with shrooms. Really good. All right, I'm gonna smash this. And I don't think you need to watch that. Me hoeing into that, not a pretty sight. I might get a little bit saucy, take my shirt off, you know, get it all over it. I'm not gonna do that. All good, kale. Give it a try. If you had it before and you don't like it, these ways work. This way works. Deep frying works. Deep frying is just, as I said before, really good as a bit of a bar snack instead of chips or something like that. It doesn't go very far though. So that whole thing, baggy thing that I showed you before, if you deep fry it, it comes down to half a bowl full or something like that. So it's a bit like when you dehydrate meat to make jerky. It just sucks down, gets all that moisture out. Okay, that's all I got for now. Give it a try. Stay on board. You bored. Cheers, guys.